Hello, and welcome back once again for another season of Belmont Bunch. Today, I'm going to be beginning the preview and prediction series, and we're going to start it with the West Division. So let's get right into it. All right, so we're going to start it off in California, where we'll stay for a while. The LA Kings, now they did finish last year extremely hot. They won 7 in a row to finish the season before, of course, the pandemic and them not making the qualifiers. So what is there that's good? Anze Kopitar had a great bounce back, and it's really important for him to hold down the fort until they get Quentin Byfield up. Defensively, they've added Oli Mata, so it's a little bit more experience to a group last year that did not have enough experience. Once they lost Alec Martinez, basically it was just down to Drew Doughty holding down the fort. But they've had Walker kind of emerge and Roy, but it's Wah. There's a couple of things there. Pederson, whichever one you're going to say, I think it's Pederson, in goal, looks to be the better option for them at this point, although Quick can still show flashes, and so I think it's a 1A, 1B situation. But generally, I just don't think there's enough scoring, and I don't think the defense is good enough, and I also don't think the goaltending is fantastic. So, yeah, that's how you make an 8th place team. Still in California, we have the San Jose Sharks. Now, the Sharks still have some young, exciting offensive pieces that make me think, hey, these guys can at least make this interesting. Meyer, LeBanc, they also have Gambrell breaking in as the third-line center. So there's a couple of things there. You still have Couture, you still have Kane. So the scoring should be pretty decent. Last year, at points they struggled because those young guns, Meyer and LeBanc, struggled as well. But, with Couture there, with Kane there, and Sorensen, let's not forget Sorensen, who can score a little bit. There's a little bit of punch, I think more so than in LA. Defensively, Burns and Carlson are both offensive pluses and defensive minuses. I hesitate more so on the Carlson halfback, but the injuries he's sustained over the last few years have really slowed him down, and it has been noticeable in his defensive play. Burns has always been kind of, all go offensive, so that's not as surprising. Marc-Edouard Vlasic has been slowing down, and he was the shutdown defenseman of the team. So defensively, goaltending-wise, I'm very worried. I don't think Dubnyk and Jones is a great pair. And Jones has not looked good at all since the nice run he had a couple years ago. And so I think this team can score. Defensively, and in goal, I'm very worried. Next, we have the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Well, just the Anaheim Ducks now. But sticking with California, once again, the most interesting part of this team will be the third line. Troy Terry, Max Jones, and how can I forget Sam Steele? So Sam Steele, I think, could be the second line center at some point this year if Getzlaf continues to slow down, or they just want to, decrease his minutes and increase steals. That will be very interesting. That third line is kind of the key because the scoring on the second line with Heinen and Milano is and Getzlaf in the middle. First line I like. I really like Adam Henrique. I think he's a good two-way forward. If he's your first line center, you're probably not a great team. I think he's a great second line center. And if he's your third line center, you're doing amazing. But on his wings, we have pretty good scoring depth. Rickard Rakell, or depth. These guys are the guys running the offense of the team. Rickard Rakell, and of course, how could I forget Jakob Silfverberg? So I like that first line. The defense could be interesting. So obviously the team couldn't score much last year, and their blue line isn't a super offensive blue line. Cam Fowler has good offensive instincts, but adding Shattenkirk could help the power play, which could help the goal scoring. And of these three teams, I love their goaltending the most, even though the backup, Miller's still fine, but we're getting to a point, they got to find, someone that can back up the team and is a little bit younger soonish. Miller's 40. But Gibson, I think, takes, even though it was a little bit of a rough year last year, The top four is still a decent one. You have Manson, Lindholm, Fowler, and Shattenkirk. I think it could be pretty good. And some young guys could boost the scoring a tiny bit, and that's how you get them ahead of the other California teams. All right, next up. All right, so I wanted to put the Wild higher. I wanted them in the playoffs, but you can't just want a team into the playoffs if you don't feel like that's the way it's going to go. For me, great top four, very, very solid top four defensive group. You have a little bit of scoring, you have a little bit of defense. I like it. The bottom pairing, Brad Hunt's been good the last few years, so blue line's not bad at all. The problem for them, centers. The center depth is pretty... They've lost Koivu and Stahl, your first two-line centers. That's worrying to me. I know they have some young guys that they're trying to feed up the lineup, but they got rid of one of them in Cunnin. I'm excited to see Kaprizov, of course, who should be playing top six right away, based on the fact that I don't know if their top six is that great. Fiala's been great. Zuccarello has been hurt a lot, so hopefully he gets back on the ice. And yeah, for me, it's just the center depth. It's not very good. Their defense is good. Scoring could be an issue for them. And in goal, I am very, very worried. And that is the reason that I put the number 4 team ahead of the Wild. The goaltending is an issue, I think. Talbot and Stalock. Stalock might, I think he's earned the starting job from how he played last year. But we will see. Stalock's never been like a consistent starter in the league. So that's a tough ask. So we'll see. Next, we have the Arizona Coyotes, and it's been a tumultuous period for them, losing their GM, revoking draft rights because they didn't do a good job of looking at the players' past, and losing draft picks out of scandals. So a lot of things going wrong. But on the ice, fortunately, I think they're still just good enough. Putting them over the Wild was tough, but I think it was the centers, the center depth that's a little bit stronger, whereas the top line center for the Wild right now is a converted center in Marcus Johansson. The Coyotes have Schmaltz, Dvorak. They've lost Soderberg, but I like Schmaltz and Dvorak. Let's not forget, so they lose Hall, and Kessel is declining. So for scoring this year, Connor Garland is going to be really, really important. And finally, the NHL video games have given him some credit for being a 20-goal scorer. So he's going to be very important. Clayton Keller, there's a lot of pressure on him this year because he's going to have to drive the offense and get ready to go up against everybody's top defensive unit. So it's Keller. It's a big year for him. He's going to have to be one of the catalysts for this team. Defensively, it's still pretty solid. OEL has been slowing down, but Chychrun has been gaining steam. So that's important for them. They still have Hjalmarsson. It's a decent top 4. And then you look in goal, and their tandem is very, very, very good. Ranta and Kemper, very solid. I still think they're going to be able to keep goals out at such a pace that they're going to be able to win a lot of close games, and that'll probably edge them ahead of the Wild. All right, anyway, let's move on to number 3. All right, so top 3 in this division is pretty clear, at least going into the season. And the Blues, for me, are 3rd. And obviously, this is a crazy stacked division, so 3rd in this division is still a pretty good team. Blues, they lose Pietrangelo. What do? They go out and get Krug. So they probably lose a little bit in defense, but Parayko, hey, buddy, it's time. It's time. So I think he is ready to go. Offensively, they have replaced the possibility of Tarasenko missing this whole year with Mike Hoffman. Not bad. Alex Steen is gone. There's a lot of young guys. Robert Thomas, the like, Zach Sanford. Guys that are quietly putting together, good starts to their careers. And I think the scoring depth is good. Defensive depth is still there. I love Vince Dunn. And the only question for me, the goaltending. So Binnington struggled in the playoffs. And they've lost their backup, Jake Allen. So I think Ville Husso is the backup goalie right now. And I would like a little bit more insurance behind Binnington, who looked a little bit out of sorts in the playoffs. So that's just the one thing that put them under the other two teams for me. But still, the Blues are really good. All right, second place, the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, the Golden Knights still boast a lot of offensive depth. Obviously, the big move was on the blue line where they gained Pietrangelo. Now, they lose Schmidt, and I'm interested to see how that affects the team going forward, but the defensive structure is still very good. The goaltending is it's fantastic. You have Robin Lehner, who is the 1A. You have Fleury as the 1B. Whenever one is hot, you go with them. Whenever one is cold, you go to the other one. That's how that works. But great tandem. The ability to swap out starters like that is something not every team can talk about. And yeah, I mean, they are going to eventually have to figure out, the cap. And, Pacioretty rumors have been abound, but still like their centers. I still like their defense, still like their goaltending, really like their goaltending. And yeah, they should be able to score. They should be able to defend pretty well. This team is one of the more steady ones in the league, at least for now, until the cap comes and gets them. So at number 1, I have the Colorado Avalanche. Obviously, it's the last remaining team. Now, the Avs, they go out and they get Devon Toews. I like that a lot. He fits kind of their, just fly by the seat of their pants offensive style. But they do have they have really solid goaltending. I don't think a lot of people knew, myself included, how to pronounce their backup goalies last year. Pavel Francouz, I found out, because he played really well and I added him in fantasy. Philip Grubauer was very good. They were very unfortunate that both of those goalies were unfit to play at some points in the playoffs, and so that was a big part of them getting knocked out. But they really, really, really just hard luck when it comes to that. You could say that can they the only downside to them, will they be able to beat that grinding out style? Beat it against the Coyotes, but the Coyotes could not keep up at all in speed, and their talent players, a couple of them have been fading. Hall had a down year, Kessel. Now, the Stars were able to slow them down a bit, but in the regular season, a lot of it's going to be go, go, go. And so I still like the Avs. I think they're really well balanced offensively. Defensively, Makar, Johnson's still good. Taves, Adam Graves has been really good for them. No more Zadorov, so no more suspensions, so that's good. And the goaltending is very solid. And so for the Avs, I don't see a real weakness because their first line is unreal, and they have really good scoring depth all the way down the lineup. So that is the Western Division, and I was able to get this cut down from the 40-minute version that I did earlier, so I'm very happy. So anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think of my predictions, and we will see you next time on Belmont.